Welcome to the Explainer. All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Our mission today is highly specific and honestly incredibly fascinating. We're doing a deep dive into one specific observation record by Tommy Yoshida, also known as Yoshida Tsutomu. Now, he's a digital strategist and an OpenAI feedback contributor. But here's the catch. Today, we're not looking at some finalized thesis or a definitive guide to AI. Nope. Instead, we're looking at something way more raw. We're examining a snapshot of a moment in time, an observation in motion. And everything we're going to unpack today is really anchored by this one simple yet incredibly profound instruction from Yoshida's International Edition notes. Don't just use AI, observe it. It's basically an invitation to take a Socratic walk with us. You know, most of us just treat generative AI like a vending machine, right? We pop a prompt in, we get an answer out, and we move on. But Yoshida, he's asking us to step back, to stop focusing solely on the output and to actually start watching the machine itself.
Before we go any further, I want to be super clear about the ground rules for this explainer. This is absolutely not a tutorial on how to use AI, and we are definitely not here to evaluate it or draw concrete conclusions. As Yoshida notes, unfinished thoughts and pending questions remain exactly as they are. We're operating under the assumption that we are in a massive transitional period. So any slight awkwardness in phrasing or unresolved ideas from his original notes, they're intentionally kept here. Why? Because we really want to observe that raw, unfiltered interaction between language, emerging tech, and human judgment. We aren't trying to force this into a neat little box today. Moving into Section 1, from using to observing. This is where we see a truly fundamental shift. Take a look at this fundamental shift Yoshida outlines in his Japan edition notes. On the one hand, you have using AI. That's getting answers, writing essays, organizing ideas, stuff we literally do every single day. But on the other hand, you have observing AI. This means actually watching how it behaves over time. Yoshida realized that, while ChatGPT is an unbelievably convenient tool, there's this entirely different kind of joy to be found in simply watching its daily evolution. What's different today compared to yesterday? Has the response structure shifted? Is the UI behaving a little differently? This pivot from just extracting utility to genuinely observing behavior, that's where the real intrigue is. And that brings us to Section 2, noticing the small changes, specifically some fascinating voice input anomalies. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down what happens when you just pay close attention. Yoshida has been using voice input extensively over the past few months, and he started noticing a chain reaction of daily anomalies. He observed that while Japanese conversion accuracy noticeably increased, the system actually took slightly longer to finalize the text. If you watch closely, and I mean really closely, a temporary transcription pops up first. Then, right before your eyes, a real-time contextual rewrite happens to smooth out the sentence. Interestingly, he also caught a behavioral quirk. Stopping mid-sentence seems to increase errors, but speaking fluidly all the way to the absolute end yields much higher accuracy. These are the quiet, daily rhythms of an evolving system. All of which naturally leads us to ask, is this a contextual correction? Is it a newly evolved speech recognition model? Or actually, has the overall processing flow of the AI just fundamentally changed? It's super fascinating to ponder out loud. As observers, we are literally watching the latency and accuracy shift in real time. You can almost feel the gears turning differently right beneath the surface. But remember our ground rules. The point here isn't to hack the system or boldly solve the mystery of why these changes are happening. The point is simply to sit with the question, to embrace the unknown. Let's look at Section 3, Hypotheses over Mechanics, where our focus shifts to evolution. Yoshida explicitly acknowledges that, hey, he doesn't know OpenAI's internal implementation. He isn't sitting here claiming to know exactly how ChatGPT works under the hood. We are entirely on the outside, looking in. But from that vantage point, technology becomes so much more than just a static tool. AI is an incomplete product. It's constantly, endlessly evolving. Every single update, every subtle behavioral change, it tells a small story. By observing the AI, we're actually reading the story of its continuous evolution, chapter by chapter. Yoshida captures this idea beautifully with the phrase, "These are hypotheses, not conclusions." I absolutely love this. It leans so heavily into the core philosophy of his observation records. There is immense beauty and, frankly, a lot of validity in an incomplete thought. As a society, we're so conditioned to demand the final answer, right? The ultimate takeaway. But Yoshida's telling us that forming a hypothesis is enough. The observation itself is the reward. You don't need a PhD in machine learning or technical architecture to appreciate a subtle shift in the machine's behavior. Section 4, Observing AI-like cities. This is a brilliant, brilliant metaphor. So, Yoshida is currently writing a Kindle novel, and it's about a rookie real estate salesperson. At first, the protagonist knows absolutely nothing. But by simply walking the streets, observing the scenery, and watching the raw, unfiltered flow of people, they gradually begin to understand the complex mechanics of society. Yoshida realized this is exactly what he's doing with generative AI. Now, obviously, the subjects are completely different. A physical, breathing city versus a digital language model. It's kind of an apples to oranges comparison in one sense, but the underlying principle, observing raw, unfiltered flow to understand a massive, complex system, that remains exactly the same.
And this brilliantly illustrates his next thought. Learning begins with observation. Think about it like this. If you only ever ask the city for directions, you never truly understand how the city lives and breathes. The same goes for the tech. If you only ever ask the AI for answers, you never truly understand how the AI is evolving. Looking beyond the immediate, everyday utility to find those small, quiet changes, that, right there, is where true learning actually starts.
Bringing us to Section 5, Embracing Incomplete Thoughts.
Okay, so this is really the philosophical peak of our explainer today. The true value of Yoshida's notes isn't in finding a definitive answer. It's in recording the now, exactly as it is, hesitations, quirks, and all. It's about accepting that your viewpoint might be totally different from someone else's, and realizing that is perfectly okay. So the very next time you open up ChatGPT or whatever tool you use, I highly encourage you to adopt Yoshida's mindset. Look beyond the answers on the screen. Look at the timing, the structure, those slight, almost imperceptible delays. You might just discover that watching AI evolve is every bit as fascinating as using it.
I want to leave you with a thought. And true to the spirit of this deep dive, we aren't going to answer it. We're just going to let it hang in the air, perfectly unresolved, as an incomplete thought for you to carry forward into your day. What subtle behavioral changes will you notice next time you use AI?